With the Hall of Fame induction coming up on August 3rd, we take a look now at some of these inductees and what makes them so incredibly special. We start, Adam Schefter, with a man you know well, Pat Bowlen.
Listen, I don't think there would be Sunday Night Football without Pat Bowlen. I don't know if there would be NFL Network without Pat Bowlen. I don't think there would be franchise tags, not that the players are happy about that, without Pat Bowlen. And you see a list of his accomplishments. More than anything, the way he treated his players, the way he cared for that franchise, the way that winning was incredibly important to him. He was a tremendous man, and again, won't be there to see himself inducted. His family will be there on his behalf, but he was a great man and a huge asset, huge underrated asset to the National Football League.
It will be an emotional night for his family, no question, and there are a lot of defensive backs in this 2019 class. Why don't you start with Ed Reed?
Yeah, Wendy, I mean, you're talking about maybe one of the smartest, most instinctive secondary players to ever play in the history of the NFL. And none other than Bill Belichick has sung his praises while Ed was playing and since he has retired. And when you think about Ed Reed, you think about just big plays, not just intercepting the football, but then a la Deion Sanders. You look at it down there at the bottom, NFL record, 1,590 career interception return yards. You knew this. The play wasn't over after he intercepted the football. He was probably going to take it to the house on you, and they were going to be celebrating down there in Baltimore. He's just one of the best all-around players to ever put on an NFL uniform, clearly to put on a Baltimore Raven uniform. And as a secondary player and as a fellow guy who played safety in the NFL, he was second to none.
One of the senior committee inductees, Gil Brandt, who was the architect of so many of those great Cowboy rosters.
Helped create the 40-yard dash, helped redefine the way that the draft is held and the importance of the draft. You see the list of accomplishments. You see his tenure with the Dallas Cowboys, Wendy. The Cowboys had 20 straight winning seasons when he was in charge. There are 2 Super Bowl titles. You see him use the computer for scouting and tallying evaluations in a way that people didn't use computers before. They would plug in data. It would spit out who would be a good draft pick. Gil Brandt always has been ahead of his time. And again, deservingly, he goes into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Ahead of the curve. Another new inductee among defensive backs, Champs Bailey. What sticks out to you?
Yeah, Champ was just silky smooth. Okay, that's really how you could best describe him. His ease of movement and the grace with which he played the position was just leave you with your jaw hitting the floor because he had 4.2 speed. He was big, he was strong, he could play zone, he could play man, and he never said a word. He just went about doing his business, and he did it better than anyone. And just look at his list of accomplishments there. It's ridiculous. 12 Pro Bowl selections. I mean, tied for most among DBs all time. I was with him in Washington when we dealt him to the Denver Broncos, and Adam's sitting here nodding his head. Okay, because he knows how this went. I mean, that's what's funny.
Hindsight, as
I
they
asked
say.
the same question when we did. So,
all right.
this guy's one of a kind. He's one of a kind.
Champ Bailey, the quiet assassin. All right, Adam, how about Kevin Mawae?
A linchpin of outstanding offensive line play for years to come. You see the accomplishments, you see how he bounced around the league, Wendy, but 177 consecutive games, which for an offensive lineman who played the physical way that Kevin Mawae did, that's incredible. And was a second-round draft pick that really got the most of his ability. 8 Pro Bowl selections. And if you're blocking for a 1,000-yard rusher in 13 of your 16 NFL seasons, usually you're going to find your way to Canton, Ohio, and that's what Kevin Mawae did. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, something went right. Lou, the senior committee selected Johnny Robinson.
Yeah, a guy who predates me a little bit, but nevertheless is someone who, when you look at his tape and look at his accomplishments and you see some of his highlights, this guy was a baller now. I mean, he led the NFL in interceptions with 10 in 1970. He had a stretch during his career, I believe like a 10-year stretch, where he had more interceptions than anyone in the National Football League ever during that period of time. And he was a guy who played multiple positions, a guy who was an old-school throwback type of defensive back in terms of not only intercepting the football, but they played with a different set of rules back then. He played in an era where, I'll tell you, it was no holds barred during the time that Johnny Robinson played. Hats off to him, well-deserved.
Talk about a man among boys, just owns just about every record for tight ends, one Tony Gonzalez.
Listen, helped redefine the position.
Yeah, he really did.
We have seen more and more basketball players go from basketball to tight end, but very few produce at the level of a 14 Pro Bowl selection, most by tight ends in NFL history. Again, this guy always seemed to come through, holds the all-time records for receptions and receiving yards by a tight end. And if you have records at one position, Wendy, you're the best that ever did at that spot.
Guess what?
You get to go to Canton, Ohio.
You get to go.
Tony Gonzalez takes his rightful position among the greats of the game in Canton, Ohio.
No question. He deserves to be there. How about three-time Super Bowl champ Ty Law?
Yeah, Ty Law and the New England Patriots were one of the primary reasons why guys like Bill Polian were saying, these guys play too physical against our wide receivers. We need to change the rules of the NFL as far as how DBs can play, because this guy would absolutely mug you at the line of scrimmage, would mug you down the field, and he was a guy who could finish on the football as far as interceptions are concerned, as well as anyone in the NFL. He was just one of those. In terms of describing him, he is the typical or the prototypical blue-collar Hall of Famer. He earned everything he got. He wasn't spectacular at any one thing. He was just good at everything, and he had longevity. And that's eventually what gets you the yellow jacket or the gold jacket and gets you a place in Canton.
Jack of all trades. We will hear from many of these great men coming up at the Hall of Fame inductions on August 3rd.